folks, Captain Tommy here. This is going to be our first project. This is a cleaning system for your generators, your main engines, for your air conditioning systems, anything that has seawater flowing in and out of your boat through holes. This is going to be the system that is going to help you keep that clean. We're going to turn all of this into a cleaning system. Come along. Y'all will enjoy this project. It's an easy project to do. If you just have really simple knowledge of PVC pipe, you'll get through this project no problem. We are at West Marine in Tampa, Florida. Welcome. Alright, so we have to take our 3/4 inch by 6 foot long square tubing and cut two 20-inch pieces off of it. So we'll measure from the end 20 inches down, mark it, cut it. Go 20 inches more, mark it, cut it, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I've marked the 20 inches and we're going to cut it right now with this sawzall. Alright, so here are the two 20-inch pieces that we need. We're going to have these drilled, and then I'll come back and show you how we'll mount the brackets. Okay, so we're going to drill 3 holes in each bar so we can put our bolt through it. So we have to mark them. We'll go flush from the bottom, mark it in each hole, and then we'll have those drilled out. Okay, so we've marked the 3 holes we're going to drill, but before we drill, we're going to have to put these U-bolts on the other side. So we have to take the bracket off, and we're going to use this as our template for our next 2 holes. So we'll come back. Alright, so we did have to make a little change to the U-bolt at the top. The bottom bolt from the ground hole is 16.5 to center, and then depending on what size, if you use the size I did, which is 2.5 inch, then you will just mark your hole to the top, and we'll see how that goes on. More to go on this side. Alright, we used a 5/16 drill bit to drill these holes, and we're going to use just a bigger bit to deburr them. They do make a deburring tool, but most people don't have them, so I'm just taking a bigger bit and cleaning. You do not want to do this in the drill itself. You just want to do this by hand, and it's just going to take all the burrs off. So we're going to go do all the rest of these holes, and we'll be right back. We have our 3 on this side, our 2 on the other side, and so we need to put our bracket onto the square tubing all the way through, and attach on the back side with nylon nuts. We'll get those all done, and we'll come back. I decided to go ahead and mark my holes for drilling my mounting bolts for my pump. So I lined up this hole with this one and marked the center of where this one's going to hit. Did the same on both of them. Lined up the back hole, centered the front hole so I can drill my hole there. Come back and show you what that looks like. To test it, I'm putting it in upside down just to make sure that the holes will line up before I bolt them on. Looks good here. Time to flip it over and mount the motor, the pump on it. Okay, now that we have, you can see I've put, these are still all 5/16. I've added a washer and a lock nut on top. I'm just going to tilt it over, use a wrench on the top, and my socket underneath the bottom. To tighten the whole assembly up. I just hand tightened them first. I just made up a word, hand tightened. And I'll continue doing this all the way around. Okay, so we brought the trash can in. We just lean the trash can back for right now. Tilt the bracket into place behind it and line it up. At this point, we put our U-bolts through and we'll take our wrench from the back side and tighten our bolts up on both of these, and then the motor will be mounted. Then we'll move on to plumbing. Alright, it's finished. We have the U-bolts on here. I wrapped the power cord and dropped it to the back where the handle is. But now, when you pick up on it, the whole motor comes with it, and it's a little loose. But if I wanted to, I could put something on either side to tighten down to stop it from moving. But that's why I'm using the flex hose. I have this flex hose that's going to connect from the outlet around the corner from PVC into here. We'll do that next. And the PVC that's going to be running up here from the outlet up into here. So it's all going to be using flex, and you'll understand that a little later, but phase one of this project is complete. Alright, so now it's time for the plumbing section. The first thing we're going to do is the inlet side. Okay, so to start this plumbing part of the project, we need to get this bulkhead fitting with a smooth side out. So we're going to drill a hole at the same height as the pump in the side for the bulkhead fitting to go into. Then we'll put the washer with the groove sides towards the inside of the trash can. That makes a good seal. And then the nut on the back side of it. To start, we're going to have to measure the height of the motor to the center off the bottom, which is 3 inches. So we want to come 3 inches, make a mark here in the center where we can get the best seal, and then drill it. You're not going to be able to see it on the camera, but I've marked my 3 inches, which is going to be to the center there, to the center of this, and we're going to take the largest hole saw that came in the Harbor Freight kit, which is an 1.5 inches, and we're going to add a bit. We're going to put that bit there and drill straight through. We have it hole cut. We need to clean the inside and outside of this hole to prevent a leak when this seal goes up against it. Alright, we've cleaned the hole, and we're going to the bulkhead fitting. Flush side is going to be on the outside. Put this in here. The rubber gasket has two bumps on the inside and flush on the outside. When you put that inside, you want those two bumps to be up against the inside of the trash can to make that seal, and then the locking nut will go behind it. I'll show you what that looks like on the inside. As you can see, it is installed. The washer is up against the trash can with the groove side towards the trash can and a nut backing up. So yours should look like that. So in order to get all this plumbed in, we have our inlet. This is where the fluid will come in. We have a threaded 1.5 inches to screw into here. We'll be putting Teflon tape on there and gluing, cutting and gluing some of this PVC stick that we had. We'll cut it to length to get the two 90s to match up directly to the pump. Get that set up, get the pieces cut, and I'll be back. So, first, everything you do with PVC, you dry fit it first. I've taken the tape measure and measured the inside lip of these two fittings and came out with 1.25 inches each. I'm going to cut it a little short so I don't have any play there and make a 2-inch cut on my pipe that's going to connect the two together. So I made a mark at 2 inch. I have my cutters here. You just put the cutters on the line, squeeze down till you get right on your mark. In my case, it can be a little higher because I made my mark at 2 inch instead of 2.5. And that's it. So now this piece will dry fit into here. This piece, which is just a slip 90, will dry fit into there. I'll need another one. This one will be a little bit longer because I want to be straight out of my pump into the threads that are going to come on the inside. So I have to make my measurement from the inside of here to the inside of there. I'll do that, come back. So when putting Teflon tape on threads, you need to start with the threads away from you. Take your Teflon tape, put it under your thumb, and go from right to left. So you're going around it to the left with it away from you. This will stop the Teflon tape from unraveling as you screw it in. I'm going to put a lot. I don't want this to leak. And Teflon tape is cheap. Or 12 turns is fine. I usually take my fingers, rub it down before installing it. Notice that the Teflon tape didn't unravel. So from here, you can do the same thing with your barb fitting for your hose. Threads away from you, start on the right and work your way to the left. You'll have to do this for both the pump side and the opposite side of the fitting. Alright, the because I don't fancy a divorce, I have some paper towels down. This is going to be a messy process. This is the glue. So we're going to start by taking this first piece off. Apply some glue to the inside. Make sure you get it really good. Apply some glue all the way around. I generally try to scrub it a little bit. You're supposed to use a cleaner, but it's going to be just fine for this project. There will be not a whole lot of pressure. And push it all the way in and spin it at the same time. That locks that in. Next, I'm going to keep these together for right now because I want to be able to line up as I'm pushing on and turning. I want to be able to line up my motor. So I'm going to keep these together, then disconnect them once I know this is at the right angle. So I'm going to go ahead and put my next one on. Again, all the way around the edge. Good as you can. If you see any debris or anything on there, take it off. Again, on the inside of your elbow, holding the back side of the can, and I'm going to move this until it's tight. Let that dry for just a second before I move on. Alright, now that this is dried, we're going to continue gluing. Again, on each side. Inside, outside of the pipe, real good. And screw this on all the way in. Turn it a bit if you can, and then let that dry. While that's getting dry, I'm going to glue the next one. Put that one on again, as far as the end you can go. Excellent. We've already Teflon taped this, so all we have to do is glue this and put it on. Put a good amount of glue. Also on the inside. Put this inside, turn as you push, go all the way in. And that, other than our small piece of tubing to go between here and here, don't forget to put your hose clamps on there before you slide it on, and then move it out and tighten down. We'll do that in just a minute. Okay, now's the time to measure the distance between here and here so we can cut our tubing and put that piece in place. I've already measured mine. I'll be cutting it with the same cutter that I cut the PVC with. Also notice I took a piece up here, split it down the back and put it in here to keep the pump all the way to this side. I will put a zip tie around this to hold this in place. But it's going to be good that I have this here. I can actually back it up and take this off, and then as I'm closing the distance to get my pipe on, I can adjust this to wherever I need it and put the other piece on the other side. we'll show you that in just a second. Okay, this is the entire connection, the inlet into the pump. So it comes out of the tank. You'll be able to see the fluid running through here. And then we will continue this up into a diverter system up here. By the way, it was a fight getting this on. Had I shown that on video, this whole video would have been a blooper section. So it's going to be a fight, but it will go on. Okay, put it back over here. We have a little bit more room. I hope you'll be able to see all this. It will be a little bit difficult to explain, but we'll come together once we put the pipes in. Just like the bulkhead fitting down here, we have two more to go in the top. So the first thing we're going to do is line out. We'll peel this off. We know it's a 32-gallon trash can, so we don't need that anymore. And then we'll have to make our marks where it makes sense based on the output of the pump. Okay, so it'll be coming up via flex tube like this. It'll be coming up, and then we'll go into our manifold to divide out into our two three-way valves. Get started on that in just a minute. Okay, you see I've marked right here where I want it. I had another mark, it was too low. I wanted to give myself as much room for flex between these two, so I put it up high. I will be cutting this with the hole saw, and once I have it installed, I'll know how far over I can go over to put my other one, which will be right there. Okay, just like before, the seal is in, and we're ready to measure for the next one over so we know the distance. Generally, that's going to have to do with the valves. Once you put the two valves together, they're kind of thick, so you want to know how much room do you have between the two. That's where we're going to be on that. Once I figure that out, come back. Okay, I now have the two holes cut and the two bulkhead fittings installed. From here, we have to take our threaded end, just like we had down here. We're going to dry fit everything first, just like we did down there. We'll put that one in, and this ended up being about 1.5 inches to fit inside here. And from there, the valve with the valve side out and the T part down, it's on here. Same thing on the other side. Again, with just dry fitting. Valve side out, T side down. And that is what that's going to look like. Alright, so let me show you the dry fit. I'm going to stay out of screen here. But we have all this fit together where the pump comes in to the bottom. It will be connected together via a piece of PVC, which I don't have installed right now here. And depending on where these valves are will depend whether this is going to be the dump in or whether this is going to be the dump in, and the other one will go out to your discharge hoses, which will be here. I will try to break this apart so you can see how it went together. So we have a little piece in here. This is 1.5 inches to 1.5 inches here. We're going to glue all this together into here. From there we have a reducer to 1.25 inches, because that's an 1.25 inch T. Then a adapter from 1.25 inch 2 threads so we can put this on. Our T will connect here with another piece of PVC, and then we reduce down here with another piece and another adapter to get us to where we can get our discharge hose. Same thing on the other side, identical. Reducers, threads, everything here. All we had to do is connect the two together here. I have the valves and the reducers and the pieces of pipe to connect this piece, which goes right here. I've already glued the piece in between because that would be too hard. The unique thing about the next step is I have to glue both of these at the same time and shove them in the best I can. It was either that, these are too close together, you'd never get that pipe in there. So these two will have to be glued together before you put them in. I wanted to show you that before I do it. So here we go. That is that. The bottom is still not glued. I'll do that later. But this is all glued and ready. Come back. Alright, so I'm going to bring you on a little tour of this part of the plumbing. Again, we have a threaded piece that goes from the bulkhead. And then inside of here is a little piece of 1.5-inch pipe that goes right into the valve body. I'm sorry. So there's a little piece of pipe in here into the valve body. Down here is a reducer to 1.25 inch, a little piece of pipe in there, another reducer here, another little piece of pipe in there to go into this 90 and to this T, and then a little piece of pipe connecting all those together. At the bottom is another reducer, well actually I'm sorry, adapter that goes from 1.25 inch to barb so it can go down to the pump. So we'll have it all the way from here down to there with a piece of pipe just like this, flex tube. Now we're not done. We still have the two that come out of here and go to our discharge hoses. So that's next. This is what the last piece looks like. Again, this is 1.5 inches, so I have a 1.5 inch adapter to 1.25 inches, a little piece of 1.25 inches to a 90. The 90 goes down to 1.25 inches to threaded threads on the inside. And then this is called a 1-inch close nipple. It's threaded brass, and it is going to go right in the bottom of here, and an identical one here. That will complete the entire setup, minus the flex tube going down to the pump and our discharge hoses. We'll get to that next. Okay, this is the final result. It is finished. So you can see down in the tank on the outside, if the valve is forward, that means it's coming up from the pump into the valve and out the discharge hose. And then if that one's there, that means the other one should be in the up position to the top, which means it'll be coming back through the other hose from the system and goes straight through into the tank. If you want to reverse the process, you turn the pump off, turn this one forward, and turn this one up. Just the opposite of what they are now. And that's it. Notice the hose, flex hose, is installed. The system is complete. You can take your discharge hoses and throw them in the bin when you're not using it, and close the lid up and move it out a little bit so you can see. And that's what she looks like complete. She's finished. All we have to do is when we're ready, and I will make a video of testing it out, but we hook our two discharge, well, send and return hose. One will be a discharge and one will be a send hose, but anyway, we'll connect the two together and then test the pump out. That's it. Like, subscribe, become a Patreon, and visit the vendors who put all this together, and I'll get a little bit of money off that to make more videos.